We waited all year for this. It's finally deer season. I've already had my first hunt of the year, but I want to start this discussion with a little demonstration. Suppose you're in a deer stand and a white-tailed deer strolls right up to you, 5-10 yards away. If you were to, instead of grabbing your hunting rifle, just reach for a 9mm handgun, like this Matrix Arms MXI, and you were to pull the trigger on a deer, would it kill the deer? Point blank, 9mm handgun on a whitetail. Well, if you put it in the vitals, of course it would kill the deer. That really flies in the face of the traditional wisdom of what it takes to kill a deer, because everybody says it takes 1,000 foot-pounds of energy to kill a deer. But a 9mm handgun is really only producing about 380 foot-pounds of energy. And so even your smallest cartridge, your 223, that's producing 3 times, 4 times the amount of energy as a 9mm handgun. So literally everything can do the job. I guess there is one centerfire cartridge that wouldn't do the job for hunting deer, and that's the 2mm Colibri. The gun is like this size. It's really, really tiny. Maybe don't pick that, but really everything's gonna work. Do be aware though that there are some laws against hunting with 223s in many states. A lot of states require 243 or bigger. But if I were to put together my Olympic dream team of what cartridges that, my neighbor says, Jim, what cartridge should I get for my deer rifle? My 1992 Olympic dream team would probably look something like these. You just can't go wrong with those. Perfect answer for your general hunting. Take it out to shoot deer. Fine for a range gun, relatively inexpensive ammo. That would be what my dream team would look like. And if I had to pick an MVP, it would be the 6.5 PRC. If I had to just pick one cartridge to hunt deer for the rest of my life, it's probably the 6.5 PRC. It shoots very, very flat. It's at the top end of what you can easily see the impact with. I want to be able to see where my bullet hits the deer. And if you have a muzzle brake or a silencer on it, or you just have good fundamentals, you can get in a spot, you can probably see the impact with the 6.5 PRC. But it's very flat shooting. That would just be my all-around Jim's deer cartridge forever. It's probably the 6.5 PRC for me personally. So let's jump into those specific categories. But first, today's video is sponsored by Aura. Privacy is very important, especially for people in our community. We don't want our information spread everywhere. And yet, every time I open my phone, I'm getting calls from numbers that I don't recognize. Spam calls. I go to my mailbox and I see spam there. And then I go to my email and I see spam there. Everywhere I go, my information is being spread online. Aura.com is your secret weapon to help curb it. Aura will scan the dark web to see if any of your passwords are compromised. We'll submit opt-out requests on your behalf so you get a lot less of that stuff, and fewer people are spreading your information. You can get a 2-week free trial if you go to aura.com/backfire. You'll see how the tool works and how much information is being spread online, then keep that subscription so that you're protected. Check it out at aura.com/backfire. All right, let's go to the short range hunter. This is probably 90% of hunters in the United States are gonna shoot their deer under 100 yards. And so every cartridge can do that, which would be the most interesting or some especially suited to those shorter shots. To me, the one that sticks out big time is 308 Winchester. 308 is so inexpensive to shoot. It's one of the cheapest centerfire cartridges, probably after 223. And so I love it for that. It's also ubiquitous. You'll find it in rifles everywhere. Now, 308 isn't only a short range cartridge. You're gonna be fine out to a couple hundred yards, a few hundred yards. But it does, fall off pretty quickly because of the very slow velocities. 450 Bushmaster is an awesome option for really putting the thump on a deer. I may still have a faint scar. I don't know if it will still show, but really faint scar from when I did that video. Oh, and the stock on my AR collapsed as I was shooting, and I got a nice shiner from that one. I love 450 Bushmaster. It falls off very quickly. I mean, it 60 yards, you're starting to see significant drop from that cartridge, but it will put the thump on. And in a bolt action rifle, they can be very accurate to be a cool cartridge to pick. Then we've got a TOC 6.5 Creedmoor. It's the most popular deer hunting cartridge anywhere probably today. It's certainly for new rifles being sold, and for good reason. It's going to do great bringing down deer size game. People say, you know, need more, whatever, and there's some truth to that in some applications, but if we're talking a reasonable range on a deer, it'd be difficult to argue that a 6.5 Creedmoor isn't a great choice for that. And if I'm shooting short range anyway, I would go for that high shoulder shot. I got a video coming up where I'm going to talk about heart versus high shoulder versus lung shots, and kind of get into the deep anatomy on that one. But I would go for that high shoulder shot up close because you're not going to miss. It's an easy shot, and that will just bring them down very, very quickly. Is the dead right there category. Some hunters want things extra dead right away, just want something to absolutely drop. I might be in this category the next time that I get back to Africa to go on a hunt. Twice I've had failed attempts to hunt zebra because of just different things. Couldn't find the animals, a trip that had to get canceled, and so I'm just going crazy really wanting to shoot a zebra. And when I do, it's gonna be the 300 Win Mag because I just feel like I've got to get that zebra just down immediately. So if you're in that camp with deer, we got a little important to get a dead right there answer with your hunt, then these might be some of my suggestions for that camp. Now, some of this is just cool. Like the 8.6 Blackout is such an interesting cartridge. It's rotating at 500,000 RPM, and I just really like to see what the terminal ballistics would be like on a big game animal. Another one to highlight here is the 300 Win Mag. 300 Win Mag is an awesome cartridge for hunting deer because you can drop down to, you know, say 150 grains, and that thing is going to absolutely go blazing. You're going to get very fast, flat shooting out of it. And so it could be an awesome choice for hunting deer, and then go to a little bit of a heavier bullet and you're hunting elk with the exact same rifle. But just choosing a bigger cartridge generally isn't the answer to get an animal to drop. It's mostly about the shot placement. So I would definitely go for that high shoulder shot, and you just get results that those animals will drop really no matter what cartridge you pick. Okay, the next hunter is somebody who has special need for taking longer shots, even if that's, you know, 300 yards across a bean field, or in the West where you're shooting across one canyon to the other. Sometimes you can need to take longer shots. I'm not talking about extreme long range hunting or anything, but just something that you need to reach out a little bit. For that, this would be my dream team there. The one that just sticks out so much. So if I just take my reference loads in Excel, the 7 PRC is amazing. Just absolutely incredible. It's resistant to wind drift because of the high BC bullets that it can get at that velocity. And that's the biggest problem when you're shooting those longer shots is, can you judge the wind perfectly? Because if you can't, and you really want something that's going to reduce that. And so those longer shots, I care a lot less about the drop of the bullet and a lot more about the resistance to wind drift. 3 of the 4 that I would pick at least are 7mm cartridges. And that's because if in that Excel sheet, if I just rank everything by resistance to wind drift at 400 yards, the 7mm cartridges just go right to the top because they're all else equal generally going to have the highest BCs of 4 of those highest BC bullets. Now, if I'm shooting really far, I would generally take kind of a safety shot, which is kind of the, you know, where you would normally shoot a deer. I'd just go an inch or 2 up, where we get a little bit more latitude on the width of the shot, but you're still easily in the lung territory because the lungs kind of angle up. And so I would just go to that safety shot, just 1 or 2 inches up. And that's kind of would be my point of aim if I'm this hunter. All right, last category here. This is the glass shoulder club. If, you know, it's a youth shooter, somebody with an injury on their shoulder, perhaps a lady that hasn't done a lot of shooting, somebody that you just want to use the lightest cartridge ever, or somebody who's a competition shooter and is used to really light recoil and really wants to see the impact of that bullet and exactly where it hits. If you're hunting alone, this could be a huge advantage to really be able to see through the scope as you're shooting. And so these would be my picks for that glass shoulder club or very light recoil cartridges. The one that sticks out for me big time is the 6 Creedmoor. 6 Creedmoor is awesome. It's basically the same recoil as a 6.5 Creedmoor. It's using the same case as a 6.5 Creedmoor, but a smaller .243 caliber bullet, and it's shooting it much faster. Because of that, you get very flat trajectories, and I might argue that a 6 Creedmoor would be better than a 6.5 Creedmoor at killing deer-sized game, because we're gonna get probably plenty of penetration with most bullets to shoot a small cavity like a deer, but we do it faster, and speed does kill. I really do believe that. Another one that I might highlight is the 22 Creedmoor, new cartridge coming to Sammy. That if you're looking for something interesting, kind of up and coming, that could also do dual duty as your coyote rifle, 22 Creedmoor could be a really cool choice for that. Thanks everybody for joining me. Coming up, we got that video on high shoulder versus heart versus lung shots. Enjoy your deer season. Send me some pictures. Excited to see what you get. See you guys.